Alright, boys and girls, today's lesson is lesson 5-6, and it is perimeter and area of rectangles. So before we get started, I want to kind of, freshen up what we've been working on with these whole conversions. And I want you to write these down inside your math notebooks and write down the answer to these 4 quick conversions. So pause it, write them down, unpause it. Alright, so you should know that there are 16 ounces in a pound. So 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So if what it tells you is, let's say P for pound times 16 equals ounces. So in this case, P for pounds is 6, so times 16, you get 96 ounces. For 10 times 16, you get 160 ounces. And next is tons. You know that a T times 2,000 equals P for pound. So we have 7 times 2,000, so that'd be 14,000. And we have 5 times 2,000 equals 10,000. So these are just a couple conversions I wanted you to get in your head. Stuff you should remember: 16 ounces in a pound, 2,000 pounds in a ton. So let's push this aside. I want you to turn to your first page today, page 183. And I know we in 3rd grade you worked on perimeter and area, so we're going to kind of dig a little bit deeper in perimeter and area today. So let's turn the page and read the beginning. It says units of perimeter. The prefix peri or peri means around. The suffix meter means measure. So perimeter is the measurement of distance around the outside of a figure. Okay, so on the key here on the right, it shows you the distance is 1 centimeter. And this is real. This is really 1 centimeter. So it's not like we're hypothetically speaking if it was 1 centimeter. This is 1 centimeter. So each of these lines is 1 centimeter. Okay, all the way around. So L equals length, width equals W, and perimeter equals P. So number 1 says the measurement unit for these rectangles is 1 centimeter. How can you find the total number of centimeters around the outside of the rectangle? So how would you find that out? Okay, what are some ways you would find out the total? So before I answer it for you, I want you to write down your own answer for number 1. What you think? What would you do? So pause it and then unpause it when you're done. All right. So some things you could do is you could count the squares. By doing that, you could just count them. You could say there's... Sorry, I said count the squares. Count the lines. You can count the units around the outside. So you could say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there, for the first one, there's 14 centimeters. And not square centimeters, because we're just doing the outside. So for any of these, you could just count the outside. You could count the units on the outside. Okay? You could also count the unit on one side, add it to the unit on the other side, and just add all 4 sides, which is pretty much the same thing as counting the units on the outside. So for perimeter, you're basically just covering the outside. Okay? So it says, what is the perimeter for rectangle X, Y, and rectangle Z? So X we already found out equal 14. Make sure you put 14 centimeters. Y was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, x, y equals 16 centimeters. And z is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And z equals 12 centimeters. All right, so I counted every one of them. There's a quicker way when it comes to rectangles and squares. It's really, because all sides are equal on a square, and in a rectangle you have two sets of parallel lines, all you really have to do is count the top, 1, 2, 3, and then the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would double each. So it would be 3 times 2 plus 4 times 2. Okay, so that would give you 6 plus 8 would equal 14 centimeters. So that's a quicker way, especially if you have a really, really big rectangle. You don't want to count every single piece. So all you really need to do is you need to find the measurement of one side, which could be the length, and you could then add and multiply it by 2, and then find the width and multiply it by 2 and add the two together. Okay, so let's look at the key. Length is the distance across the rectangle, and width is the distance up and down. Perimeter is the total distance around the outside. Use the formulas L, W, and P to use the letters L, W, and P to write a formula for the perimeter of rectangles. So, the one thing you could have done, you could do L plus W plus L plus W equals P. Okay? Or you could do, like I did up here, okay, you could go 2L, which is 2 times L, plus 2W, which is 2 times W, equals P. There's a couple different ways you could do it. All right, we have to get Boogie in. Let's go on to the next page. We talk about area. Area is the total number of square units. Remember that, square units. Back in perimeter, we said a simple unit. This is a square unit, so you have to have a little 2 next to it, or say square unit. That cover a figure. Each square unit inside these rectangles is 1 centimeter long and 1 centimeter wide. So it is 1 square centimeter. So 1 square centimeter. I said put the 2 next to it. You do something like this for square centimeter. Put a little 2 up there, but we don't really do that, I guess. So we'll just keep writing the SQ before the CM. So we're talking about the inside now. Okay, we're talking about what's on the inside, and notice there are little squares on the inside. That's where you get square units from. Because they want to know how many square units on the inside. When you do your multiplication or however you decide to find out, you're saying the answer as little squares. Okay, so square unit, that's what your answer is. So how could you find the total number of square centimeters inside each rectangle? One way, you could add them all together. You could just count them all. Okay, you could take you could just go ahead and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You could do that. Or you could do length times width. There's 1, 2, 3 on the top, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the side. So that would be 12. But either way, your answer is square units. So the two ways you could do it, you could add them, you could count them all, or you could multiply length times width. So number 6 says, what is the area of x, y, and z? Well, x we just did. It equals 12 square. I'll put the little 2. I'll try to switch it for the next one. Y, we could count them all. We get 12. Or we could just say it's 2 by 6. Times them by each other. 2 times 6 equals 12. I'll do square centimeters here. And then z is a 1 by 5. So it's just a 5 square centimeters. All right. So using L to stand for length, and W to stand for width, and A to stand for area, what formula can you write for finding the area of any rectangle? Okay, well, basically there's only one, and you can flip it around how you do it, but it's basically the same every time. Length times width equals area, or if you want to do this, area equals length times width, however you want to do it. But that's all it is. And you're going to get a square answer, remember that. So why does the same formula work for all rectangles? Why does the formula work for all rectangles? Because all rectangles would have the same length on the top and the bottom, and the same width on each side. So it works for every rectangle because rectangles are filled with little squares. All right, so let's go to the next page. We're going to try to tackle a little bit of this, and I'm going to let you work on your own, so we can work on it in a smaller group. says perimeter area are measured with different kinds of units. Units of distance or length for perimeter and square units for area. Perimeter is the total distance around the outside. We just talked about that. This rectangle has 4 units along its length and 3 units along its width. To find the perimeter, you add the distances of all the sides. So length plus width, or 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So then area is the total number of square units that cover a figure. For rectangles, area can be seen as the array of squares. This rectangle is an array of 4 squares across length and 3 squares across or down width. To find its area, you can multiply length times width. Pretty simple there. So what I want you to do is I want you to find the perimeter of A and find the area of B on these two. And then I want you to work on the next page on your own. And we'll touch base with it in small group.